The old Miller place stood hunched against the relentless wind that clawed across the barren fields. Not truly barren, mind you, but cursed. Nothing healthy grew in the 30 acres bordering the Whisper Creek. Not for generations. My name is Thomas, and this blight was my inheritance. My grandfather, Old Man Miller, used to warn me, his voice a dry rasp like leaves skittering on stone. Stay away from the feeding ground, boy, he'd croak, pointing a gnarled finger towards that desolate patch. It takes. He never said what it was or what it took, only that the land demanded its due. Locals in the distant town of Oak Haven spoke in hushed tones about the Millers, about the farm. Disappearances, strange lights, livestock gone missing overnight. They eyed me with a mixture of pity and fear, as if the blight wasn't just in the soil, but in my very blood. Last year, my uncle Elias vanished near the creek. Just gone. No trace. The year before, my Aunt Martha. Before that, distant cousins I barely knew. Always near that patch of ground. The police came, shrugged, muttered about drifters or wild animals, but I knew. Grandfather's warnings echoed in the emptiness of the farmhouse. I tried selling the place, but who would buy land cursed by legend and loss? Trapped, and with a gnawing unease settling in my gut, I started to watch the feeding ground. Days rolled into nights, the wind my only companion, the rustling corn stalks planted far from the blight sounding like mucking whispers. And I found it. Not bones, not at first. A patch of disturbed earth, churned as if something massive had rooted through it, and a single, thick, viscous trail leading towards the creek. It smelled wrong, like rot and something else, something sickeningly sweet and animalistic. The trail ended abruptly at the water's edge. I came back the next day, digging carefully near where I'd found the trail. The soil was unnervingly dark, almost black, and beneath a thin layer of topsoil, I found them. Not human bones, not exactly. Hoisted, fused shapes that hinted at bone, but were disturbingly alien. And mixed with them, fragments of clothing, a button I recognized from Uncle Elias's coat, a scrap of patterned fabric like the dress Aunt Martha wore. The earth here wasn't just cursed, it was a charnel house. Here turned to a cold, brittle resolve. Whatever was here, whatever fed on my family, I had to see it. I had to understand. I spent a week, fueled by dread and stale coffee, constructing a trap. Heavy timbers, reinforced steel cable, a mechanism triggered by weight. I set it near the creek, baiting it with a side of lamb I'd driven 50 miles to acquire from a butcher who didn't know the local tales. Waiting was agony. Every creak of the old house, every shadow outside the window, felt like a presence. On the third night, just before dawn, the air grew impossibly cold. The wind died. A profound silence fell over the land, heavy and suffocating. Then a sound. A wet, dragging noise from the direction of the feeding ground, followed by a terrible crunch, the sound of my trap springing shut. A low, guttural roar tore through the silence, a sound that wasn't animal, wasn't human, but something ancient and filled with insatiable hunger. I crept to the window, my heart hammering against my ribs. Through the gloom, I could just make out the trap. Something writhed within it, immense and dark. I saw glimpses of segmented limbs, a glint of too many eyes, hide slick with something that shimmered in the weak moonlight. It thrashed, tearing at the heavy timbers with impossible strength. And as I watched, paralyzed by terror, I saw it feeding. Not on the land. It had somehow pulled up chunks of the black soil, stuffing them into a wide, unseen maw. The land itself was its sustenance, a hideous cycle of consumption powered by the lives it had taken. It absorbed the earth, the remnants within it growing stronger, solidifying its terrible form. I didn't stay to watch it break free. I fled the house, the farm, driving through the dawn light as if pursued by every shadow I had ever seen. But I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that the feeding ground would not be denied. It had tasted my bloodline, and it would continue its dark harvest. A blight was still there, waiting, hungry, and eventually it would find me again.